So a couple weeks ago, the Twitch streamer Katie Bugs came out with allegations against the Minecraft YouTuber GeorgeNotFound. And over the last 4 parts of the series, I've been going over the various responses they've made to each other, which now in part 5 leads us to GeorgeNotFound's 4th response, but really his second full-fledged one in video form. Here is what he said.
Here are the 2 tweets that I posted about the situation. These are now deleted as I only made them to let people know that I had intentions to make a response. First of all, I just want to make it clear that my tweet that I put out after my first statement wasn't somehow admitting to guilt or completely backtracking on what I originally said. My perspective had changed due to new information that Katie had provided, so now I'm just going to go over Katie's new statement and talk about what she had to say. So first, she acknowledges the texts that I showed about them talking about wanting to play the drinking games are real, but that they were from her friends. So this is reasonable. I only brought up that point because the implication was that it was kind of creepy of us and we were forcing the game on them.
There was more alcohol in the room and we were encouraged to drink some more as they offered the bottles to us and insisted on drinking games, and, already drunk, I obviously complied.
In reality, it was mutually talked about and everyone was just having fun. So next she mentions that one of the reasons she wanted to hang out in our hotel room was because there was another creator that was in the room, but then that creator didn't actually end up being there. Again, reasonable. I didn't know this at the time. There were people in and out of our hotel room throughout the whole event, so she could have potentially heard of anyone being there. When her group was on the way to the hotel, she was messaging me, bantering about whether or not I would actually be there or not, and that made me think that she wanted me to be there. But I don't know, maybe she didn't care and she just wanted to see the other creator. She said that a reason she kept messaging me in a friendly way for a while after this whole thing happened was because she felt lucky to be talking to a verified account, someone famous, someone I had followed and watched for a while. This is not something that I was thinking about at all. I wasn't aware that she ever watched my content in the past. That was never brought up. This actually makes me feel pretty bad. The only reason she was messaging me was because I have subscribers or something. Again, the only reason I actually brought up us messaging after the fact was to show that we were still friendly afterwards and that I didn't know that she was uncomfortable at the time. The next thing she talks about is the elevator. She said that we left at the same time and that her hotel room was on the other side of the hotel. So there was like kind of 2 corridors connected by an elevator room in the middle. She's saying that she was just going past the elevator to get to her room. And again, this is totally reasonable. I brought this up because from her stream, the way that it was told kind of implied that I followed her out and then that she waited to take the next elevator instead of getting in with me while I tried to convince her to get in.
I went to leave and the older guy decided to leave with me. We walked to the elevators where I didn't get on. He then pretended that the elevator was broken and that he couldn't leave, telling me to get in the elevator to prove it was broken.
In my original video, I just wanted to clarify this, that we left together because the night was over and that she was on the same floor, so she didn't actually have to take the elevator. And it seems like she agrees with this now. So next she agrees with me that she didn't mention my online friend that I just met that day. She said she didn't mention him though because he left early and she didn't even know his name. And she shows a text message that she says is from him from the night where this happened, where he says this. Obviously this is implying that he was kind of uncomfortable with what was happening and also that he knew her age despite just meeting her. And when I first saw this actually majorly changed my perspective on the night, because that would mean that my friend was also uncomfortable and somehow knew her age when I didn't. And even though she said that he left early, my memory of it was actually that he was the last to leave, just before me and Katie left. Dream also came to me and mentioned that this changed his perspective of the night as well, because that would mean that he was essentially the only person that wasn't uncomfortable, and that therefore he should have known. This really concerned me, so I reached out to my friend to talk to him about it. And it turns out that he actually didn't send this message.
What's up?
So there is a text that is claimed to be from you.
Yeah, I didn't send that text. I found out about it when you sent it to me. But yeah, no, that wasn't me. I don't know where they got that from. I didn't ask them for any of their phone numbers or anything like that.
Can you kind of just talk me through your, like, anything that you remember from essentially the entire event?
A little bit before VidCon, I hit you up to hang out, and then you mentioned that you had an extra bed for your hotel. I think it was towards like 9 or 10 o'clock. We met up at Dream Spot. Then it was just us 3 for a bit, and then you or Dream mentioned like just having some people come over and hang out. We were playing, I forget what the drinking was called. I think it was kind of like Cards Against Humanity, something similar to that. I didn't really notice anything out of the ordinary. I didn't really notice any like bad vibes or anything like that. It was a little playful, maybe a little flirty. I noticed you guys were just kind of like playing with each other and just like kind of cuddled up a little bit on the couch. So it definitely didn't seem like she was like uncomfortable, you know? I don't know, it seemed like everybody that was there was having a good time, because I mean, we were there pretty late. So the way she was explaining everything, I mean, at least to me, like it was not like that at all. To me, it kind of seems like a misunderstanding. There wasn't really a thought in my mind that like, oh, this girl like could be in some sort of danger, or she's being like preyed on or anything like that. Because yeah, even though George is my friend, if I noticed him doing anything that I wouldn't want someone I'm friends with to do, then I would, you know, I either would say something about it or not be a part of that situation.
She says that you left early on in the night. Could you talk about that?
I think around like 3 or 3:30, I went to go get tacos. I think I got the party pack or something. For some reason, I couldn't believe I actually went and got tacos. I know for a fact that I got the tacos like extremely late. Like I had to go in their drive-thru even when I was in a car. Like I had to walk through their drive-thru and like order through their speaker. That was fun. I know I left at 5 or very close to that time, because right after 5, I texted Dream that I left open the deadbolt on his door. Right after I left, I texted him that to let him know. I think that was at like 5:10 a.m. Can genuinely say I had a really good night. That's kind of the impression that I got from everybody else too. Is like everybody was having a good time, but hopefully, you know, you and Katie can, I don't know if be friends is the right word, but I hope she feels better about it, because, you know, I feel bad that she feels this way, but I don't know, it's kind of bad situation. It's just fucking wild that like this whole situation came from like that night. It was just like mind-boggling, dude. Like I couldn't really believe it, like half the shit I was hearing. Like as someone that was there, like other ways that I've heard it being like described, like from what I was like reading and watching online, is actually kind of insane.
So obviously after this conversation with him, I was pretty confused. Maybe it was like a misunderstanding or something, because obviously they wouldn't just show this screenshot if it was fake, because I could disprove that pretty easily. So I had Dream reach out to get some clarification on it. So they replied back and essentially just said that it was an accident and that Katie had gotten confused on who said what. And I'm really not trying to nitpick anything here. I just really think it's important to make sure that everyone has the full picture of the whole event as it happened, so that people can accurately form their own opinion. Anyway, the next thing that she talks about is the cuddling. A lot of the touch was initiated by him, probably not realizing it. A lot of the cuddling he may have felt was personal, but it was just me being drunk. I do think a lot of the cuddling was initiated by me, but some of it wasn't. I was also drunk, but my impression at the time was that it was very mutual. She also says that I didn't know cuddling was an invitation. I don't think just cuddling is an invitation for anything. I only brought the cuddling up because it's something that she didn't mention at all in her original stream.
We sat on the couch, and the older guy sat right next to me while playing. It was a little after that, when I resorted to playing games on my phone when it happened.
And again, it's something that I think people need to know about to understand my perspective fully. The next thing that she talks about is that I said she got up and sat back down with me multiple times. She agreed with this, but said that the reason she did this is because I didn't want someone I had watched for a while or with a large following to hate me for denying to even sit near him. Now this makes me feel terrible. It's something that she mentions throughout, this power imbalance, but this is not something at all that I was thinking about at the time. She was a VidCon invited guest, she had a hotel room on the same floor as Dream, she was friends with my friends, and honestly I just never imagined that this is something that she could have thought. And I do think that's my problem. I should have been aware of this, or at least the possibility of this being the case, and I am sorry. I feel terrible about it. I've never really thought about power imbalance at all, to be honest. In that room, I wasn't thinking about, you know, YouTube subscribers or fame or power or anything at all like that. I just saw us all as friends, hanging out, having fun. Again, I'm not trying to downplay this by saying this. It is genuinely something that I'm going to be thinking about going into the future. Next, she talks about how I mentioned that she stayed for hours even after her best friend left. She says that her best friend left throwing up in her hand and that she didn't know she had left, that she didn't make the conscious decision to stay. Now, this isn't my recollection of what happened. I remember Ghosty getting up to leave and Katie getting up to say goodbye to her. I also asked Dream about this, and he had the same recollection as me. We were all drunk, so I can't 100% say for sure what actually happened, but as per my memory, she was aware that Ghosty had left. Also, according to what she said, Katie and Ghosty were sharing the same hotel room together. So the obvious assumption is that they would probably leave together. The fact that she chose to stay, despite not really knowing most of the people there, gave me a pretty positive impression on how she felt about staying there. She says that after Ghosty left, quote, "I put up with it in the moment because I thought it was the price I had to pay to be around such big creators." Again, like I said before, this is just not something I even thought she could be thinking, and I'm sorry that I didn't. Next, she talks about me being more touchy as the night went on, and says this: "You didn't know me, apparently you didn't even know my age, but you knew what I wanted." No, he assumed it's what I wanted because why wouldn't I want that from someone like him? This is absolutely not how I think about this kind of situation at all. I would never think like that, and honestly, it's kind of an evil way to think about things. Just having the opinion that you can do anything because you're famous or whatever. And I never once remotely thought anything similar to that. And I feel terrible reading those words knowing that you think that about me. I would never think that I'm owed anything from anyone just because I have a YouTube channel, especially in an intimate context. Again, I'm really sorry for this, and it actually has been pretty eye-opening to me, and it's just not how I've ever really thought about stuff before. And I don't really think you're wrong for assuming that I thought like this, because obviously there are people out there that think like that and use that to take advantage of people. And it makes sense that if you think that about me, that you would hate me. That is not who I am at all. And I just really hope that you can understand that. Now, another thing that she mentioned that changed my perspective on things was that she showed texts from two of her friends the day after, checking up on her to see how she felt. In the moment, I was chilling, but thinking back on it, I'm sweating a little bit like, damn. I also don't know if I was chilling in the moment because I was drunk. And this is something that I was actually completely unaware of. I wasn't aware of any uncomfortableness in the moment, after the fact, or even after Katie's first stream. I just wasn't aware that anyone had expressed discomfort until I saw these texts. I actually had the opposite impression just because we were all really friendly afterwards still. Dream actually had a conversation about this with almost everyone that was in that room a few months later. One of their friends had actually tweeted about Dream, saying that he was inviting an 18-year-old girl back to his hotel to drink at VidCon, and was implying very negative things about Dream being a predator. So Dream realized this could have only been about Katie because it was a pretty specific call out, but thought that it was just being purposefully misleading from someone that hated him. Dream actually had no idea as well that anyone was uncomfortable and assumed that this tweet was implying Katie was uncomfortable with Dream. He reached out to Ghosty about it, asking what this was even about, and did the same to others, including Katie. Now, I'm not going to be showing Katie's text with Dream because at the time Dream had told her that her messages and conversation would not leave their texts. However, here is Dream and Ghosty's conversation about it. "I was never brought up or mentioned at all. And also, when Dream makes fun of Harry for being ridiculous and making stuff up because nothing happened and we were all still friends, she said, exactly. She actually spoke about this on her stream very recently, and I don't want to speak for her, so I'm going to play the clip where she clarifies these messages.
The only time that we had a conversation about anything that had to do with that night was obviously when the stuff with Harry happened. And he texted me asking if it seemed like anything had happened. And I, at the time, said no, because the conversation was not about George. The conversation was about him. And it was about the underage drinking. And it wasn't ever about whether or not Katie, it was always just about him and not George, which is why I said, dude, no, nothing seemed wrong, because he wasn't doing anything wrong. And I can stand by that. I will stand by that comment. And I said that in one of my posts that, it wasn't him. That was our conversation. It was never about George. It was about him and the Harry situation. And it was about at the time had seemed that Dream was one who had taken advantage of Katie. And I said he didn't. And I didn't lie.
And Ghosty, I'm really not trying to use your words against Katie or you. I'm just trying to paint an accurate picture of our perspective of the night. And to do that, I kind of have to talk about everything that we knew. I don't think your words negate at all how Katie felt, of course, but they did affect how I perceived the situation afterwards. Even after Katie's stream, this kind of confused us, and Dream especially, because he thought that this would have come up in these conversations. Now, he was so confused that he was convinced that Harry was essentially being malicious. And he said this, and Ghosty and others there agreed with him. Ghosty even said that her friends should get to know him because she and Katie had actually had pretty negative opinions of Dream before meeting him, but had their minds changed after meeting him at VidCon. This is obviously said about Dream and not me, but Dream looked at this as positive about the entire experience and shared this with me. It seems like Ghosty has changed her mind about this now, but I just think it's really relevant to how we felt about the situation as a whole and to show this to you guys. Honestly, over the last year or so, anytime a creator has kind of distanced themselves from me, I just assumed it was because of Dream. Dream had false grooming allegations against him, and I assumed that because of this and my association with Dream, people didn't like me. After Dream posted his video disproving these allegations, I honestly thought pretty poorly of creators that were still negative to me, as now I thought there was literally no reason for it. And now, after seeing Katie's follow-up, I realized that probably everyone knew about this behind the scenes. And I think that is insane. I was walking around with these people at other events or interact with them in any way, and all the time they were just thinking terribly about me. And I didn't even know, and neither did any of my friends. If I'd seen Katie in person, I would have gone up to her normally. I would have assumed we were still friends. I think this is a massive injustice to Katie. It actually kind of makes me rethink a lot of my experiences with other creators, looking back on it with this new information. And I don't even know who these people are. And even right now, after all of this information is public and out there, I still haven't had a single private conversation with anyone who knew about it prior to Katie's stream. This is all just to say that I didn't have any idea that there was a problem, and I wish that I had, and I should have. The last thing to mention is her age. Like I said, I wasn't aware at the time that she was 18. I mentioned that they had come from an official VidCon after party, they were drunk, and I made the assumption that, knowing how these events are run, that she was probably over the age of 21, as they wouldn't have been able to drink in there otherwise. Now, they actually said that they drank somewhere else briefly before showing up, and that makes more sense. It is irresponsible of me that I made this assumption, and going forward, I will make sure to explicitly ask for a person's age. And I'm sorry, Katie, that I did not do that for you. I also brought up how when I was going back through the texts, I found a picture of one of them wearing a 21 plus age wristband. And I showed this picture. Now, this is from a group chat that I wasn't in, but Dream showed me this when I was making my video, and I figured it was relevant to why I was under the impression she wasn't 18. It is now mentioned that Katie wasn't actually the one that was wearing it, and it was just someone else's hand. So in these texts, they say, Loose 21 plus wristband. We have a strat. Now, to explain what this strategy is for the people that haven't really been in a club environment or a place where you would get a wristband like this, essentially they give you this wristband to show that you are over 21 so that you can get drinks from the bar. These wristbands are made in a way so that once they're put on, they cannot be taken off without breaking it. And that's precisely why they're used, to prevent people from underage drinking. But clearly the security that gave the girls these bracelets didn't do a good enough job and didn't put it on tight enough. And this just shows that you can never be too careful and shouldn't make assumptions like I did. And I should have asked for her age, and I'm sorry that I did not. From Katie's statement, it kind of seems like she didn't believe that I didn't know she was 18. She said that she had it in her bio and that I DM'd her, so she was very confident that I knew.
Later that night, when I left, I received Instagram DMs from him, and in my Instagram bio, in bold, was my age, 18, confirming he knew how old I was.
For context, as you can see here in this screenshot, her age is actually in her display name on Instagram. And because of this, I was also pretty confused how I didn't know that she was 18, as it's literally in her name, not even in her bio. It's in her name. If it was in her bio, it would make sense to me because I could totally see myself going to her profile the first time I wanted to message her and just clicking message and never really going back to her profile. And essentially just anytime I interact with her was just through the direct DMs where you actually can't see someone's bio. So I actually completely see where she was coming from, and it does seem kind of ridiculous that I didn't know. So because of all this, I actually started to look into this quite a lot because I know that I'm not stupid and must have seen it. Also in my head, I know that I didn't know her age, so it conflicts. So today I actually found out there are two different types of professional Instagram account. There's a creator account and a business account. And for some reason, Katie's account was a business account instead of a creator account. We actually joked about this at the time through our DMs because I was actually able to book her as like a business, and I didn't really know why I was able to do that. And weirdly enough, it actually turns out that business accounts don't display special characters from a username in the username that's displayed. And if you don't know what I mean by special characters, basically just a character that isn't something you can type on a normal keyboard. And because her age and the smiley is a special character, it literally just didn't display it in her username at all. And you can actually see this in a picture that I sent to her during our messages, that her age is not displayed in her name. And you can also see this in the screenshots that I used in my previous video, that her age also isn't visible, despite the fact that her age was in her name at this time. But now actually, as of today, her account isn't a business account anymore, so her age shows up again. And this is a screenshot I took today. Obviously, this wasn't a feature that I knew about at the time, and I actually had to do quite a bit of research today to work that out. So I hope that could kind of clear that up a little bit, and that maybe you can see how I wouldn't have seen it. I actually do think that the age difference between me and Katie was a pretty big factor. I am older than her, and based on what she said, I do have more experience than her. She never went into the exact specifics either, so out of respect for Katie, I've chosen not to give any more details than she did, to make sure that I'm not airing out any information that she's not comfortable with being known. But I have clarified that the furthest things went was under the shirt touching. She did say that the level of intimacy that we had together was the furthest that she'd experienced, but to me, it was quite tame. And when I say this, I am not trying to devalue how she feels about this at all. I'm just trying to point out that we clearly viewed things differently. And this is something that I have learned from now, and I will be taking very seriously moving forward. And I am truly sorry, Katie, for not realizing this and not taking this difference into account. It is clearly something that is extremely important to you, and I'm sorry. Even after everything I've just said, things would be very different if I could just say that I had asked her if she was comfortable and she had said yes. But the fact is, I never did ask this. As I mentioned, there were a lot of things that she said she thought that I wasn't aware of, that if I had known would have changed a lot. And going forward, this will be something that I take into account in every interaction I have with anyone, sexual or not. I am sorry, Katie, and I am sorry for how this will affect you going forward. And I'm sorry that everything got to this point, but I just hope that after hearing my perspective, you can understand that I never had any bad intentions and never meant to hurt you. I think that is essentially all the information that I can add to the situation. After her first statement, I actually disagreed a lot with how things were portrayed and was pretty confused by a lot of the details. But her most recent response made things a lot clearer to me, and now I do think we agree pretty much on the order of events. We just don't necessarily agree on my intentions, but again, I do really hope that her seeing this can help with that.
LEB reacts to George's response by saying, I hope it's becoming obvious to people that this should have never been made public in the first place. It's probably going to end up harming everyone involved, as well as creating more doubt around future SA allegations. Linda says, I can't wait for more excuses and victim blaming. Chantel says, thank you for going into more depth and understanding her perspective more. I can see how from your point of view originally, your response was clouded by previous perceptions of the event, and your personal life regarding what Dream had been accused of, and all the hate that came from that. I hope with better understanding of everything, and understanding from you, and remorse for how it ended up, that she can heal. Katie deserves to heal, and I believe you when you said you'll never let this happen again. I hope this conversation has been eye-opening to all creators and men in general, as it was clearly needed. I hope that it ends up having safer environments, whether that means from your personal interactions, or keeping an eye on the people around you. It's important to keep each other safe. Chloe says, it's crazy how she messaged you for months, but never decided to message you about the situation and say how she felt that night, but felt more comfortable blasting it on the internet for attention. Venice says, for anyone who didn't actually watch the video and just jumped to conclusions, George actually put in the effort to find the evidence, and it turns out Katie was lying about quite a lot of things. Bunny says, it sounds like pure miscommunication, and you've been beyond villainized over it. Katie Bugs sounded uncomfortable over the situation, which is fine, it happens, but I assume she went to her friends and they convinced her it was mega grooming. Audrey says, just a reminder that this is Katie's apology to either accept or not. Paxoy says, I've been watching his whole response and my opinion is that he is being genuine and admitting to his mistakes, and I feel as he shouldn't have his whole career ripped away from him over miscommunication. Georgie says, miscommunication. A 26-year-old man slipped his hand under an 18-year-old girl's shirt without her asking him to, and asked, are you ticklish? And then he kept touching her to embarrass her or get a reaction. Dude, like, all of you can go fuck yourselves. Vin responds, 18 is an adult, by the way. Georgie responds, the argument isn't it's illegal. It's creepy. Why is he in that situation in the first place? Enix says, she was extremely drunk, and you put your hand under her shirt without consent. That is sexual assault. Literally no other details matter. You and your fan base are freaks. Mills says, no amount of, oh, I didn't know, I wasn't aware, will change the fact that you admitted she was drunk, and you put your hand up her shirt without consent. There is nothing else to address, and no amount of pushing the miscommunication narrative will change it. And fuck off to anyone going, but he was drunk too. Okay, he still put his hand under someone's shirt unconsensually. And the whole, well, she cuddled with him for hours? And that's an invitation to put his hand under her shirt without asking? Brother. Hide as an Egg says, there was no miscommunication because he didn't communicate. He never asked for consent. End of discussion. Nicholas Diorio then tweets out these two Instagram posts from Mr. Beast and captions them by saying, Mr. Beast's team has removed GeorgeNotFound from their Feastables Instagram post. The famous Minecraft YouTuber was recently under fire after reports emerged regarding him not sexually assaulting an 18-year-old adult woman during a VidCon party last year. If you go to the actual Instagram post, you can scroll through the slideshow where a different content creator is added each time. The last photo is gone. It also looks like his page is gone off night.co. Maria responds, so close. Those are actually two different photos. Nicholas Diorio responds, so close. Lil bro doesn't know how Instagram works. Alex Combs responds, what happened? To which Nick responds, he got cancelled for not assaulting someone, I guess. Abby posts this clip of Katie Bugs next to a clip of Katie Bugs' friend and captions it by saying, I'm super fucking confused, y'all.
He asked us who I cannot remember. Once again, I was drunker than the night before and was willing to go anywhere. I was naive, and so we went back. I remember a friend seeing me in the lobby on the way. They were worried by the way I was acting and asked if I was okay. I was really drunk, and it was an eerie feeling, like they could sense something was wrong, and I wonder what would have happened if I had picked up on it, and if I wasn't drunk, and if I didn't wave it off. But I don't want to dwell on the what-ifs. That night, I went up to his room. But
then it ended up coming out, and we made a game plan. Let's go back to the hotel. You know, it's totally fine. We went back to the hotel, and that's where it came from. It was a 16-out party. No one drank. People claimed that we came to the hotel having already drank. We didn't. We went back to the hotel, didn't drink, went to their hotel room, and that's when we started to drink.
Cobain responds by saying, multiple people have confirmed that people drank there. Stop casting doubt on victims. Abby responds, I'm a victim of assault on multiple accounts, and make posts about accusations about Minecraft YouTubers often. I just never posted them from this account before. Autumn Wormtongue says, why do their stories keep changing and continue to be contradictory of each other? Kavos quote tweets Abby and says, GeorgeNotFound accusation update. These stories are not aligning at all. Between Katie and her friend, apparently they didn't drink before the hotel when they met George. Just a complete shit show. George is getting tried as a rapist online for a story that has so many holes in it. Envy responds by saying, how dare a victim forget parts of a traumatic event? Kavos responds, how dare a victim leave out so many important parts from life-ruining allegations? You have brain rot. Kate responds to Kavos by saying, doesn't matter because he still admitted to it. Hope this helps. Kavos responds, he hasn't admitted to it. He made an apology at the mercy of the 15-year-olds who have no actual life experience. TunaFan68 says, guilty until proven innocent mob at it again, jumping to conclusions after watching maybe 5 seconds of a clip and casting righteous judgment on such a nothing situation. Rach responds to Abby by saying, why do these content creators keep turning on the fucking camera and going live? Holy shit. Talk to one another and sort this shit out. Stop involving strangers on the internet. Casper says, while people are here, another relevant contradiction. This wasn't her first convention. Cosmo quote tweets Abby and says, see, this is what I'm saying. They keep changing things. Maury says, keep trying to poke holes in a victim's story so you can feel better about not standing a misogynistic, perverted, white man who spends his days assaulting drunk women, then playing victim when told to stop. Rowan reacts to these clips by saying, in no way am I downplaying any victims, but genuinely, why does their story keep changing? I think Katie should be the only one addressing her own experience because it's creating confusion and doubt. Rui says, I don't understand why people are jumping to say that the this side by side is picking apart stories to discredit victims / to defend George. How is this defending anyone? How is this discrediting anyone? All this is showing is that Ghosty and Katie have different recollections of the same night, and that's confusing. They should be a united front. Why is Ghosty clarifying that they weren't drinking prior to going to the hotel room when Katie said they were on both nights? I don't know what night Ghosty is referring to, but it doesn't matter that much if she's talking about night 1. But it matters a lot if she's talking about night 2. It's not discrediting Katie to point out that Ghosty, at worst, changed the story, or at best, supplied an irrelevant detail, as if it's an important clarification. My takeaway is that Katie's friends are being weird about this. They failed to protect her, and now they are clarifying things that make them look better. As in, we didn't get an 18-year-old drunk before taking her to a second location, and inadvertently confuse Katie's story. It's weird. It's distasteful. It's not defending anyone but Katie to point this out. Llama's Willow says, can they all figure this shit out in like a group therapy, and then come out with one conclusion of it? I'm so sick of these different sides and new evidence. Oh my god, my hair is gonna gray tomorrow. Sophie says, people claimed that we had already drank. The person accusing said that, hun? This is all one big bullshit lie that keeps changing and being elaborated in ways that don't match the original story. And that's about it for the reaction to everything GeorgeNotFound up until this point. But knowing how these people are, there's probably going to be another statement from Katie or something to reignite discussion about what happened between George and Katie that night in Dream's hotel room during VidCon. But if there is any new information, I will be sure to update you guys on this channel along with showing the Twitter reactions to it. So if you don't want to miss that, be sure to subscribe to this channel with notifications on. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. And with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in another video.